In the depths of history, hidden from the eyes of the uninitiated, lurks an ancient manuscript capable of overturning our ideas of time and tradition. This document calls into question not only the accuracy of the calendar, but also its very nature, suggesting that it is the result of a deliberate distortion of an ancient, harmonious system that linked humans to cosmic rhythms. Imagine a world where the passage of time is perceived not as a linear sequence of days, but as a complex dance of celestial bodies affecting all aspects of existence. What if this forgotten wisdom, the key to which is held in the 1775 Bible, has been deliberately hidden to disconnect us from a true understanding of the world? Discovering this secret could radically change our perception of life. We may have fallen victim to a grand illusion artificially created to distance us from deep spiritual knowledge. The Bible of 1775 acts as a kind of tuning fork, forcing us to rethink familiar truths. Why, for example, did ancient cultures start the new year in March instead of January? What is the meaning behind the disappearance of the 13th month, once an integral part of the lunar calendar, which reflected the natural cycles of nature? And finally, why did Sunday take the place of Saturday, which, according to ancient cosmological ideas, was considered the first day of the week? These questions, like alarm bells, make us think, what other mysteries does history hide from us? What other distortions have penetrated our understanding of time and spirituality, leading us further and further away from the truth? The answers to these questions may be much closer than we think. Lost rhythms of time, the mystery of the March New Year. Referring to March as the first month of the year is not just a quirk of history, but a fascinating journey into the worldview of ancient civilizations. It is an opportunity to look into their understanding of time, natural cycles, and spiritual traditions that guided them on the path of harmonious coexistence with the cosmos. In the era of ancient Rome, preceding the reforms of Julius Caesar, March, dedicated to the god Mars, held the place of honor as the first month of the year. For the Romans, it symbolized the arrival of spring, the time of awakening of nature, the rebirth of life, and the beginning of agricultural work, which formed the basis of their existence. However, the roots of this tradition go much deeper, to cultures that honored the vernal equinox as a sacred moment of renaissance. At this moment, the balance of light and darkness epitomized the renewal of all things. The equinox was perceived not only as an astronomical phenomenon, but also as a period of renewal of society itself, its rebirth to a new life. Ancient peoples believed that the beginning of the year in March allows a person to synchronize with cosmic rhythms and live in harmony with nature. In addition to Rome, this tradition existed in Persia, where Nowruz, the holiday of the Zoroastrians, expressed the inextricable link between time and spirituality, marking both physical and spiritual renewal. Nowruz was a vivid example of how ancient cultures wove the cycles of nature into the fabric of their beliefs and customs. The calendar reform undertaken by Julius Caesar in 46 BC marked not just a technical adjustment, but a profound cultural shift. The establishment of January as the beginning of the year was dictated not only by astronomical considerations, a desire to synchronize the calendar with the solar year, but also by symbolic choices reflecting new political and social priorities. At the center of attention was Janus, the deity of entrances and exits, whose two-faced nature embodied the connection of times, past and future. This choice emphasized the desire for stability and order in Roman society, shifting the focus from agrarian cycles to the political calendar. The switch to the January calendar, however, was neither instantaneous nor unanimously accepted. In various parts of Europe, especially in rural communities and religious circles, March continued to be perceived as the beginning of the year, closely associated with the awakening of nature and agricultural traditions. In England, for example, until 1752, New Year's Day was celebrated on March 25th, the day of the Annunciation, marking the conception of Jesus Christ. This date symbolized not only a religious holiday, but also the beginning of a new agricultural cycle, the rebirth of life and spiritual renewal. The introduction of the Gregorian calendar in 1582 finally established January as the first month of the year. This transition, however, met with resistance because it symbolized a departure from the natural rhythms of nature in favor of an artificial system subordinated to political and economic interests. The change of calendar entailed a transformation in the perception of time, altering spiritual and cultural awareness. By adopting the January calendar, mankind changed not only the system of counting time, but also its place in the universe, weakening the connection with the natural cycles that once determined the course of life. The calendar transformations go far beyond mere practicality, witnessing a complex cultural and spiritual metamorphosis. Humanity has gradually moved away from seeing time as a cyclical process, inextricably linked to the rhythms of nature, to a linear, predictable, and manageable model. This transformation may have brought a sense of control, but it also led to a loss of connection to an organic, cyclical world order. This begs the question, why exactly did Sunday assume a dominant position in the weekly cycle? What are the hidden motives behind this ancient transformation? The choice of Sunday as the first day of the week was not a mere rearrangement of the calendar. This decision had far-reaching consequences, having a profound impact on the development of religious teachings, the shaping of cultural patterns, and the very understanding of time itself. In order to trace the origins of this change, it is necessary to look back to the birth of Christianity, to the period when the differences between Judaism and the new religion began to manifest themselves not only in theological doctrines, but also in everyday rituals. In Jewish tradition, the Sabbath, or Shabbat, has consistently remained the seventh day of the week, a sacred time of rest and spiritual revitalization that goes back centuries to the birth of the Jewish people. This day, celebrated since ancient times, symbolized the completion of the act of creation and served as the embodiment of the covenant between God and the Jewish people. The holiness of the Sabbath was reinforced by the rich tradition of spiritual reflection, rest and renewal that crowned each week. For the followers of Christianity, the resurrection took on the deepest meaning because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. This event formed the basis of Christian doctrine, symbolizing the birth of a new world and the beginning of a new era. Sunday became a time of Eucharistic gatherings and celebrations of life in Christ. The transition from Saturday to Sunday, as the main day of the week, was gradual and varied from region to region. However, over time, especially after the Emperor Constantine's adoption of Christianity, Sunday became officially established as a day of rest and worship. Constantine's conversion to Christianity and his edict making Sunday an official day of rest throughout the Roman Empire greatly accelerated this transformation. Spiritually, it was a transition from the Old Testament traditions of Judaism to New Testament Christianity, from the celebration of rest after the creation of the world to the celebration of resurrection and new life in Christ. Socially, this further separated the Christian community from Judaism, emphasizing its autonomy and uniqueness. However, there were also political motives behind this change. Constantine had been a pagan before his conversion, and Sunday, already honored as the Day of the Sun, became an important symbol of unification and reinforcement of Christian traditions. This facilitated the integration of pagans into the Christian community. The fusion of religious practices contributed to the formation of a new social and spiritual order, where Sunday took center stage as a day of worship and rest. This day united both Christians and those who remained faithful to elements of ancient cults, serving as a link between different beliefs and establishing a common rhythm of life for the whole community. The transfer of sacrum to Sunday had a profound effect on the perception of the flow of time and the organization of the weekly cycle. Saturday, under the influence of Saturn, was traditionally perceived as a day of contemplation, stock-taking, and self-discipline, symbolizing the end of one period and the beginning of the next. Sunday, however, the Day of the Sun, carried the energy of renewal and creation, setting a new rhythm in the cyclical understanding of time. This transition from Saturday rest to Sunday activity marks not just a change of day for religious ceremonies, but also a transformation of the energetic content of the week, shifting the focus from the completion of deeds to the beginning of new beginnings. This shift reinforced the symbolic significance of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, presenting renewal as a key aspect of human existence. It is noteworthy that certain Christian denominations, such as Seventh-day Adventists, still honor the Sabbath as a true day of rest, claiming that it is in keeping with the original divine design. They question the validity of the historical change, emphasizing that the choice of Sunday may have been dictated not only by spiritual, but also by political considerations. Sunday, acting as the beginning of the structured week rather than its finale, symbolizes the priority of spiritual rebirth over the temporal concerns of the new cycle. This re-evaluation of the time frame placed Sunday in the position of the starting point, reflecting a philosophy where the beginning of the new is more important than the summing up. This transformation of temporal organization had a significant impact on cultural and social traditions, shaping everything from work routines to leisure activities and religious rituals. The radical change to emphasize Sunday as a day of spiritual renewal and rest transformed the perception and structuring of time, illustrating the influence of religious practices on social patterns and even on the cultural conceptualization of time. This shift manifested the power of religion in shaping everyday experiences and perceptions of time, demonstrating how calendar and cultural transformations can reflect the underlying evolution of a society. The enigma of the 13th month and the lost connection to the natural world. The presence of the 13th month in the calendar of the 15th century Bible may at first glance seem an insignificant nuance, but this fact reveals ancient civilizations' ideas about time and the universe. This system, based on lunar cycles, indicates a closer connection to the natural rhythms that govern life. To comprehend the depth of this system, it is necessary to analyze the principles of its operation and the reasons for its passing into the past. Lunar cycles served as the basis for chronology in ancient peoples such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Babylonians. Each lunar month spanned approximately 29.5 days, forming a year of about 354 days. An additional 13th month was introduced to harmonize with the solar year of 365 days. This was not just a technical device, but a sacred act, emphasizing a deep connection to natural and cosmic rhythms. The 13 lunar months symbolized the cycle of life, the processes of growth and renewal. For ancient civilizations, the number 13 was the embodiment of continuous rebirth, necessary to maintain harmony. Each month had a unique energy, influencing both the surrounding world and the inner world of a person. Ancestors believed that following the lunar rhythms allows you to exist in harmony with the universe, maintaining mental balance. The number 13 in this system of worldview played a special role. Unlike modern superstitions, where 13 is often associated with misfortune, in ancient times it was honored as sacred, symbolizing transformation and rebirth. As an example, the Mayan calendar was used to determine the dates of religious ceremonies and coronations. This calendar served as an important tool in the ceremonial life of the ancient civilization. The introduction of the 12-month solar calendar was much more than a simple simplification of the system. The abandonment of lunar cycles was probably closely intertwined with the growing influence of monotheistic teachings, which, unlike ancient cults, were suspicious of pagan rituals and beliefs. This transition marked not just a change in the calendar system, but also a deep break with the natural rhythms of nature, which had guided the life of mankind for centuries. By adopting the solar calendar, people lost their close connection with the lunar phases, deprived of a natural reference point in everyday life and spiritual practices. Such transformation changed the perception of the world, making it more predictable and controlled. However, at what cost has this predictability been achieved? Changes in the system of chronology have led to a gradual weakening of the connection with the natural cycles that used to be the basis of life and spiritual traditions. The abandonment of the 13-month lunar calendar was not a purely practical decision. It reflected a major cultural metamorphosis in which the cyclical understanding of time gave way to a linear and orderly one. Instead of a perpetual cycle of time, renewed with each lunar cycle, the solar calendar established clear boundaries and timeframes. This, in turn, contributed to the formation of a new worldview, where time is perceived as a continuous progressive movement, rather than as an eternal succession of birth, development, fading, and rebirth. In ancient societies, the 13-month lunar calendar played a crucial role that went far beyond simply measuring time. The phases of the moon, which served as a source of inspiration for spiritual and astrological practices, were seen as the key to understanding the rhythms of the universe. In these celestial cycles, people saw a reflection of natural processes and of their own lives. Each month, beginning with the birth of a new moon, was infused with a special energy that was believed to influence a person's emotional and mental state. This deep connection with lunar rhythms allowed ancient civilizations to live in harmony with the cosmos, which was manifested not only in everyday affairs, but also in sacred rituals and calendar celebrations. The transition from the lunar calendar to another type of chronology was not just a change in the system of counting time, but also a transformation of the human attitude to time. The shift of accents in the calendar system entailed serious cultural changes. For example, the establishment of Sunday as a day of rest became not only a religious tradition, but also a significant symbol of time organization, which affected the perception of working days, the weekly cycle, and the life of society as a whole. The question arises, was this not a way of managing the perception of time? This example shows how religious norms can change cultural consciousness and attitudes to time on the scale of an entire civilization. In an ancient Bible dating back to the 15th century, researchers have found evidence of the use of a 13-month calendar. This seemingly bygone way of measuring time, in fact, reveals an amazing picture of how ancient civilizations skillfully combined their everyday life with the rhythms of the cosmos. The 13 lunar months that formed the basis of this calendar were more than just a tool for keeping track of time. They served as a symbol of man's deep connection to nature and the universe. Ancient peoples such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Babylonians lived according to lunar cycles, seeing each month associated with the phases of the moon as a reflection of the cycles of birth, blossoming, and decay inherent in all things. Each lunar month not only dictated the timing of agricultural work or social events, but also served as an occasion for spiritual reflection and renewal. The 13-month calendar, based on the lunar phases, was the embodiment of human harmony with nature. For people who lived according to this calendar, living in harmony with the lunar rhythms meant harmonious coexistence with the universe. Such a system served as a constant reminder of the cyclical nature of life and probably strengthened the sense of belonging to the cosmic order. The number 13, which in the modern world is often associated with superstition and failure, in ancient times was perceived as a symbol of sacred power, transformation, and rebirth. In ancient cultures, the number 13 had a special meaning, symbolizing the connection with lunar cycles and natural rhythms. For example, in the Mayan calendar, known as the Tzolk'in calendar, which consists of 260 days, the number 13 was used to determine auspicious days for important ceremonies and rituals. The transition to a 12-month calendar and the abandonment of the 13th month probably represented not just a matter of practicality, but a profound spiritual and cultural shift that transformed the perception of time and the relationship with the world around us. The adoption of solar chronology marked a shift away from lunar cycles, which were perceived as less predictable and difficult to manage. It is quite possible that monotheistic beliefs, often distrustful of pagan practices, also contributed to pushing the lunar calendar and its 13th month to the periphery of cultural life. This, in turn, entailed the loss of part of the spiritual heritage and a change in worldview, where the once close relationship with natural rhythms and the cosmos was broken. In ancient societies, the phases of the moon served as a guide to determine the optimal time for agricultural work, such as sowing and harvesting, as well as for ritual ceremonies. Each lunar phase was attributed special energetic properties that influenced plant development and human emotional background. Living in harmony with these cycles allowed ancient civilizations to synchronize their activities with natural and cosmic processes. The rejection of 13 lunar months in favor of 12 solar months broke the natural synchronization of man with the cosmos, replacing it with artificial linearity. Instead of the eternal cycle reflected in the lunar cycles, the perception of time as a path with a clear beginning and end was established. This transformation of the worldview also affected astrology. Each lunar month was traditionally associated with certain astrological influences that determined the course of events and human decisions. The transition to the solar calendar distorted these subtle interrelationships, alienating people from cosmic rhythms and reducing the accuracy of astrological predictions. As a result, practices based on the observation of celestial bodies lost some of their influence and meaning. A hypothetical return to a 13-month lunar calendar offers intriguing possibilities. Reconnecting with natural cycles could lead to greater harmony in human interaction with the world around us. The influence of the lunar calendar may extend beyond agricultural practices to mental well-being, spiritual life, and social organization. The revival of a cyclical perception of time, based on the idea of eternal return, will allow us to move beyond linear thinking and approach a more holistic and organic understanding of existence, the path to a lost eternity. The Bible of the 1775 edition, shrouded in the mystery of chronology, calendar systems, and sacred dates, appears before us not just as a historical document. It seems to contain layers of esoteric knowledge that can turn our view of reality upside down. What prompted the creators of this edition of the Bible to such a radical reform of chronology? Perhaps there is a hidden agenda behind these changes, a desire to distance us from understanding fundamental cosmic truths, or even to conceal ancient wisdom available only to the initiated. For a deeper penetration into the essence of this publication, it is necessary to take into account the peculiarities of that era, the turn of the century, the heyday of esoteric and occult movements, when secret societies such as the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians had a significant influence. These orders sought to preserve the legacy of ancient knowledge, which included an understanding of time cycles, cosmic forces, and humanity's deep connection to the universe. Could they, consciously or not, have influenced the structure of the 15th century Bible by weaving into it hidden truths that were later forgotten or skillfully disguised? Let us ask ourselves, is there not a secret plan behind the transition to a 12-month calendar and the adoption of Sunday as the beginning of the week, connected with the control of cosmic flows? In esoteric teachings, the number 13 is traditionally associated with transformation, renewal, and contact with the unknown, symbolizing access to the sacred secrets of the universe. However, later this number was ostracized, even acquiring a negative, demonic reputation. Perhaps, if we had kept the 13-month calendar, our lives would be in greater harmony with the natural and cosmic cycles, contributing to the natural flow of energies. And, more importantly, who benefited from this calendar reform? Did it not serve the purpose of distancing man from the truth, keeping him in the captivity of illusions and spiritual amnesia? Hidden symbolism can also be traced in the transfer of the holy day from Saturday to Sunday. In the esoteric tradition, Saturn, the ruling planet of the Sabbath, embodies karmic purification and difficult life lessons that promote spiritual ascension. The change to Sunday, a day under the sun's patronage, can be interpreted as an attempt to steer people away from deep introspection. This change probably affected people's perception of their own spirituality, weakening their potential for deep development and disconnecting them from the inner transformations that Saturn could initiate. It is quite possible that this shift in temporal and spiritual reference points is not accidental, but is the result of a carefully thought-out plan to control the perception of time and, as a result, the spiritual evolution of humanity. Esoteric teachings view the time system not simply as a way of measuring duration, but as a factor influencing the formation of human consciousness. Our relationship to the natural cycles that once defined the existence and spiritual experience of our ancestors has undergone significant changes. The transformations of the calendar testify not only to practical needs, but also to profound cultural and spiritual shifts. This evolution illustrates humanity's gradual drift away from harmonious coexistence with natural rhythms and toward a linear perception of time, predictable, structured, and seemingly under our control. This view of time has certainly simplified social and economic mechanisms, but it has probably deprived us of the understanding of cyclicality that gave the ancients a sense of belonging to universal harmony. In the modern world, guided by the linear calendar, we increasingly feel ourselves isolated individuals, trapped in the grip of workdays, weeks, and years. In the past, each seasonal transition, each solstice or equinox, was a reminder of our connection to something higher, to the eternal cycle of growth, decay, and rebirth. By simplifying our lives, our modern perception of time distances us from this fundamental connection, creating a sense of disconnection and alienation from the natural world. The reforms affecting chronology had a profound effect on the spiritual development of humankind. Natural cycles served as a basis not only for organizing daily life, but also for shaping spiritual practices, conducting rituals, and finding one's place in the world. Returning to the natural perception of time can help to restore the lost connection with nature and find inner harmony, allowing a person to once again feel part of the vast universe, subject to the eternal cycles of renewal and balance. The Bible of 1775, with its mysteries and subtle but significant changes, offers us a new understanding of time and its relationship to spirituality. The change of the beginning of the year from March to January, the moving of the first day of the week from Sunday, and the abandonment of the ancient 13-month calendar are not mere adjustments in chronology. These transformations are evidence of man's estrangement from the natural and spiritual cycles that once determined the passage of time. What rituals do we perform today, and how do we realize our connection to the cosmos? These discoveries call us to return to a lost spiritual authenticity and harmony with natural rhythms that can awaken in us a deep sense of unity with the universe. May this knowledge be the beginning of rethinking our customs and inspire us to return to a more natural, cosmically oriented way of life. What other hidden, forgotten laws are waiting to reappear and guide us to our true purpose?